Hey fam, we are back at our
Hello.
weekly cast. Dre and Summer with Get Resource, all about getting reconnected to self, source, and others, anything around relationships, communication, all that. As we know, it can be a lot of layers in that. So we're here to create conversations around it. Also inviting, people that have, taken the conscious communication course. This is a great place to bring your questions, bring your thoughts, a place to keep the conversation going because it's all about staying in the practice. Even if you've completed a course or completed a book, it doesn't mean that the work doesn't stop. The work is always there. And we're live on YouTube as well at Get Resource. And we'd love for your support to watch us live on YouTube because that gets us views and that allows the algorithm to really show it to more people and they get access to this information that we're talking about. Hey,
Yeah,
Summer?
we can share the message that way faster and get
Yeah,
it more people that can benefit from it. Yes. So
exactly.
I want to ask you the question, Dre, like we do every time.
Mm,
What's
yes.
alive in you today?
I love that question. Today, I'm feeling grateful. There's sense of peace, a sense of trust, because that meets my need for certainty. Yeah. Again, I didn't feel this way last night and then that evening. The how quickly things shift, right? So that's my current state right now. Is what's alive in me. And what's alive in you right now?
I am intensely grateful and excited because I have a good friend of mine that just joined what I call the Soul Truth Academy for the year. Um, and I'm just
Amazing.
so excited.
Mm, love
Yeah,
it. Mm.
yeah, I'm feeling that. I've got all these jittery excitement and feeling really fulfilled in what I'm doing.
Mm. Yeah, especially like the opportunity to get to do this work with like your close friends, people that you have history with and they're willing to do the work with you. It just deepens it.
It does, it does. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's bizarre." Or I guess that what's coming up for me right now is, oh, people say, "Oh, I don't want to air my dirty laundry," or whatever that is. The judgments of all of those pieces. Um, but when we keep all that stuff separate, we're separate.
Mm.
I call it clinical dissociation. The idea that we need to be an expert and you go to someone who can tell you how to fix your life as if there's something wrong.
Mm.
And I don't believe there is. So I'm excited that people are embracing more of an idea of healing in community.
Right. And also what comes through for me is like this notion that, I'm not broken. Because like there's a part of me that like if I were to share what's really going on, that means something's wrong with me and I'm broken, right? And I recall like, hey, I don't need a therapist because I'm good, right? And I used to be in that boat as well. Like, I'm good. I'm good. And truly, I believe I was good, right? Looking back, it's because I had a lot of entertainment to keep me busy. Right. Even though
Mm,
I didn't enjoy the career I was in, I always kind of joked that I was working for the weekend. So I went to the gym. I went to raves, drinking parties, movies, vacations. It was a lot of fun.
Video games.
Um,
Forget about
Video
those.
games, right? Oh, video games. Now we go down the rabbit hole of like video games leading to porn, leading to alcohol, leading to drugs, experimenting. Now, here's the thing: like, I thought my life was good because that was the plan. Work during the week and then party on the weekend and do it all over again. Though it came to the point where there's times where I didn't want to show up to work, so I just call in sick,
Mm.
and use those sick days. But that was really a red flag that okay, something's up, and perhaps I'm good because I have these things I go to as a way to numb myself. Like imagine if I was just really by myself, sitting with myself, not distracting myself with video games or movies or porn or alcohol or parties, but just really be with myself. I think I'd be very uncomfortable. At that time, I just didn't have the capacity to do that or want to. And I was good, right? And so it's as if like my mind created this construct to kind of protect my reality, my world as it is, to justify my living. So what's the invitation for me to actually look at myself on a deeper level, right? Well, that's the admission that maybe something here, maybe what came to me was wrong or right, but that's a judgment, right? But I mean, that was my fair judgment. Like, what can be improved? What can be better? And that requires some level of introspection on that, and that's scary because introspection leads to perhaps change, right? Or the reality that, oh my god, did I just kind of live a life that wasn't by my design? Was based on
Oh,
someone else's
interesting
design?
question. Right? You had all the right things.
Um,
You had a fancy car and a great job, and oh, you did
yeah,
bodybuilding. You looked great.
yeah.
Mm,
On
yeah.
the surface, that was great, right? But inside, like, I just didn't want. I didn't realize I had depression and anxiety at the time. When I look back, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Though I couldn't recognize it, I couldn't see it because I had all these things I was doing. In a way, I love to be busy because that keeps me from actually looking at myself, right? But
Uh,
how to reframe it where looking at myself isn't so scary because it
mm,
can be scary when I'm thinking about change. Oh shit, do I have to change now? Oh my god, do I have to go through an identity crisis? My whole world shatters, right? And that can be scary for
mhm.
some people.
Yeah.
So my question is like, how do we invite people into that inner work, besides a wake up call, right?
Oh, that's a that's a Jack in the box question. You know, you said anxiety. I didn't notice, didn't know you didn't realize you had anxiety or depression
Mm,
looking back. And I think for a long time, I didn't recognize I was anxious either. I'm not an anxious person. I don't want to judge myself as having anxiety. And I think it's really, I think it's, if you want to call it the dis-ease of our culture is this busyness, right? It's the coffee and busyness is the current addiction that is really super, super popular. Learning so many things, getting so busy, doing so many things, thinking you've got life, and realizing later that maybe you've let life pass you by. And what happens is all these types of healing crisis, relationship crisis, divorce, losing jobs, chronic illness or autoimmune diseases, they all kind of they come from the same place. There's a disconnection. We're doing all these things and we don't know why we're doing them. Why are we doing all that? And I didn't know. I really, I mean, I've been doing this work for a really long time. And then when COVID hit, I was like, oh, this feels so nice to be at home. The whole world is slowing down. But it's like, there has to be these outside forces to have people slow down because everyone's sped back up again. Yet people seem to, it's a really good question, Dre, and I don't know the answer. They have to hit a wall of busyness. Their bodies have to completely break down. Their relationships have to break down before they want to go through what I call the door of confusion. Or, like you said, does it have to be an awakening? Does it have to be a healing crisis? And I don't think it does. But I think the way our culture is currently acclimatized, it kind of puts us in that position. I think if we
mm,
have more community where we see it as normal rather than trying to hide or suppress, or like you say, you put all these emotions underwater and you hold this beach ball down for so long and then it just has to come up.
mm.
Um, so I don't know what's the answer to your own question.
Yeah. Well, I do have
Do
a
people
perspective
have
on
to,
that.
yeah, do people have to go through
Naomi,
that?
Naomi's comment here is yes, we can't slow down enough to really feel our own reality. And then we are surprised by it when something happens and we suddenly realize how we feel. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know. Do we know how we feel? I think a lot of people have no idea how they feel. I think
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
part of the right. The alcohol, the drugs. It's like I don't want to feel anything. It doesn't
yeah,
feel
at the
good.
time where, yeah, if you ask me how I was, my default answer was good, and I'm great. Things are great, right? Like job, car, body, moving forward, climbing the corporate ladder, having fun, connecting with my friends. Life is great. And it was in that time, right? From how I looked at it, from my perspective, it made sense. Hey, no issue. Why create an issue? Why have to like kind of rock the boat, right? Why have to change something that what I perceive to be good? And so there was nothing more than I'm good. I'm fine. I'm all right. I'm cool.
So what happened
Eh,
next for you?
Oh man.
What?
Well, getting, you know, losing my job, losing my relationship, um, going into sales was a huge game changer for me because that put me into the path of personal development. And then I started to look at myself. I started being around people that were looking to improve themselves, and that started my journey of like questioning and wondering who this was. Though going back to it, like it made sense that I had no in touch with my emotions because there was so much layers and distractions and maybe programs there that really separated me from myself.
Hmm. Yeah, chronic separation, and
So
it
the
goes.
work was like, yeah,
Well, I was just going back to what you just said, which was what was it? Programs were disconnected
yeah,
from like just a preset program. You go to school, you get good grades, you get married, you have children. That's what you do. And you get a. I mean, I remember asking my mom, "Why did you have kids, mom?" I, because everybody else is doing it. That's kind of what we do. We're not taught to really realize when we're born we're this gift to the world and we have these special talents that we can curate, but we're sent to school to kind of do same or similar things. um, it's really, or traditional school anyway, has taught us to regurgitate the same answers, a lot of multiple choice questions. There's not a lot of open dialogue with people. They sit in desks all day. And I know there's a lot of homeschoolers out there, kudos to you, that are starting to question, why are we going to work every day and doing the same thing and being repetitive? And why are liquor stores open during COVID when no other accessible things were open? It kind of makes me really confused as to whether our system really
mm,
supports our well being or not.
yeah. I see it as society as, and this is my perspective of promoting superficial connections. You know, like there's still a yearning for connection. There's a reason why I went drinking. There's a reason why I watched porn. There's a reason why I played video games. There's a reason why I went out because I wanted to have fun and connect with other people. And it'd
Mm-hmm.
been nice if everybody was doing the same thing. It didn't seem that I was crazy, right? When everybody else around me was doing the same thing, it justified my behavior as well, right? So everything I do or did was for connection, was were bids for connection. Though what I'm seeing is there are superficial methods of getting connection, pseudo attachments that never really give me the full breadth of it
Mm-hmm.
until I unlayered myself. And is this journey towards my truth, right? As if like I was lost for so long, trying to find myself outside of myself, and the journey has come back. It's as if my perspective at the time was this small, and it's kind of like this this viewpoint that if my reality is this small, of course everything is great because I've kind of got all the bases covered. But then the more I know about myself, the bigger my awareness and perception grows. And it's kind of like the idea the more I know, the more I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? The more uncertainty, the more questions. And that can be scary. But for
Yeah.
me, it's like having more perspective of like, who am I? Why am I here? What is my truth? And it's so juicy and it's so exciting for me. I got past the fear to the point where I look forward to looking at my dark recesses of my mind, of my shadows, right? Though it's like starting that journey and then realizing the fruits of that journey, that the fruits are actually way like bigger and nourishing than the fruits that are given to me, but what's being preached out there, right? So,
Yeah, tapping into self. I'm curious if Naomi's still there. Surprised when these things happen and you realize how you feel, or you start to realize you have feelings, or you start to explore those things. Um, because I
mm,
do think we're busy avoiding escaping, right? And another thing that I do, you did the drinking and the porn and stuff, is when I feel disconnected, I shop. I like to buy things, and they're pretty and they make me feel happy for a really short period of time. And it reminds me
Black
of
Friday,
Black. Yeah, it is Black Friday, and
it's
I
time to
did buy
shop.
something actually. So, but I'm Christmas, right? There's this expectation around Christmas, this other thing, that is really about buying. We shop, we buy gifts, and it's all about gifts. And then we go to Christmas, and one of the students this week in our class talked about, how she longed as a kid for this connection at Christmas, and you get this buildup and this hope and this excitement of what's going to happen. And then you open gifts that you don't really like, and people are busy cooking, and there's again that pseudo type of connection. You're doing stuff with people. Oh, yeah, Naomi. I scroll and watch TV to avoid. Uh-huh. Right? So at Christmas, what I did, my mom made the best freaking Nanaimo bars with that creamy stuff in it. It was so, so good. I
Mm,
could eat an entire container myself. I've done that a lot. Chocolate, sweets, those types of things. To give me this sweetness that I really, I guess, was missing and I didn't have in my life. And that was missing through the connection of the people that were my family, but that didn't really know the inner workings of my mind or my heart. And yeah,
mm.
it was, looking back, it was lonely. It was lonely. And I had a lot of credit card debt. Yeah,
Mhm.
didn't feel good.
Mm.
But I didn't know what else to do, because you're told these things or whatever until you start going, wait a second here. Wait.
Yeah,
Where's another way? This doesn't
right.
feel right. Why doesn't it feel right? Changing my trust to getting all that outside stuff to start going, okay, what? Hmm. How can I start to insource my power instead of outsource it?
Resource it.
Resource it. Yeah. To
It's the end of
resource
the
it, to
trip.
source it from some other place, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking back, it's just the way things were modeled, and
Yeah.
if
How
I'm
did
not
we
aware
get?
enough, then I just pass it on, right? I mean, there's so many theories, right? There's so many stories about how did we get here. And one thing I read recently is that the mind um, is a fragmented perspective of reality. And so there'll always be arguments with theories, with ideas and stories of how did we get here, rather than perhaps coming from an embodied experience, right? It's something that's different from the mind, which is a confine where how I project is different than how you project. So there could be differences. And that's the source of conflicts, is that I believe in this one story and you believe in this one story. And we're trying to prove each other that we're right.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's
And
the
we are.
source of it.
We are
Yeah.
right.
You can actually have two rights,
Yeah.
100%,
A
because
thousand, a
your
million.
perspective from your perspective is right, right? So it's getting past that of like, how can I connect to myself in an embodied experience of what life is, rather than thinking about it, rather than reading from a book. Though my experience was what I witnessed growing up. So that experience is passed on, right? It goes back
Yeah.
to, if I know better, I'll do better.
Yeah.
And so now I always say, like, men's work, relationship work, any personal development, is such a privilege to do this work because then I get to change my lineage. I get to change my family tree. I get to break generational patterns. And I'm so grateful for my ancestors, for my parents, for my grandparents, all those who came before me to give me this opportunity because I'm
Mm,
really building off of them,
yeah.
standing upon them. They gave me this opportunity, their sacrifice, right? They came from a generation where they buried everything, right? And now it's like I have the opportunity to excavate it.
Yeah. What do you say about those people who get quite annoyed that they're the ones to have to excavate and change family patterns or different things like that? I always say you can't think your way out of something you felt your way into. And so we've been busy with all these theories. They're science, but they are just theories. It's also psychological theories. All these theories. What about just our direct felt experience
Mm,
with others? What about
that's
that?
beautiful. Yeah. And what is the direct felt experience for those that are like, what do you mean by that?
Our direct felt experience, our inner resonant truth. I believe our bodies are these conduits to a lot of information, energetic information. Like we said before, we did feelings are facts. It's another form of data, far more reliable. I know in my work and inside out, I'm always like, my only job is to keep you out of your head. Chris,
Hey, Chris.
howdy. Howdy, sir. Nice to see you in here.
And hi, though, for those on Instagram as well. Welcome.
Hello. I know I'm excited to see Chris. I forget what I was talking about. What we were
Yeah.
talking.
And like, what is the direct felt experience? You said your innermost resonance, right?
Right. Um, it's about acknowledging what you're feeling, what you're sensing in your body. Oh, my back is sore. My neck
Tracy.
is. Hey, Tracy, how's it going? It's physical sensations, it's bodies, it's all of those things that we're taught to push through by working so much, by being so busy. It's the images we get in our sleep, in our imagination that we're taught to discount and say that's important or not important. It's the reactions and the felt experience of being around other people. We might also call it our intuition, which they always call intuition your sixth sense, as if it's this thing that's separate from everything and it's lumped into this one category. And that there are so many timbers and ways that people have a sense of knowing what's true. And I think a lot of people are waking up to their way of knowing. You know, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience used to be such a way out there way of thinking. But our outer senses are really reflected inward. We have insight. We have our own voices. And they used to put people in insane asylums for having more than one voice. And now we have IFS, internal family systems, where we talk
Right.
to different parts of ourselves, right?
Yeah. So
So
what would you say
starting to
to yeah, what would you say to someone that is that doesn't feel? Like I can't feel.
mm,
What do you talk about my direct felt experience? What do you mean? Perhaps I'm in my head analyzing it. So how do I get from there into my body, would you say?
yeah, I've had people say that I can't feel anything. I'm like,
Yeah.
do you mean you feel numb? And they're like, yeah, numb. I'm like, that's a feeling. There's always something there, but we're really taught to dismiss everything. The committee inside. Yes, we've got a lot of committees inside. That's we have an assessment if anyone wants it. It's called the saboteur assessment. It's an amazing, remarkable thing that I learned about my committees. So, oh, Naomi, I remember having this gut feeling or wish over and over. There's got to be something more than this. Yeah, even though I couldn't really understand or connect with other feelings. Yeah. Oh, and accept being unhappy. That's the other piece of it, right? Acceptance. We're always busy trying to positive think our way out of what we're doing or affirm something, and we don't accept what is. as Eckhart Tolle wrote in his book, the power of now, presence with myself, but also others in the moment. We're often busy fixing.
So, so you're saying like for those that can't feel or say I can't feel anything, you're saying is it for me to be present?
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. And I like what Krista said too. Men specifically are conditioned not to feel and ignore their bodies. They're strong, they push through, they do all the hard grunt work. And I don't think men feel safe really expressing to their partners either, because there's this thing of, well, if you're a man, you don't cry. It's still a thing, isn't
Mm,
it? Hey,
it
have you?
is absolutely. I've heard that many times. Working with men that they don't feel safe. Either that safety is projected onto themselves of it's actually unsafe for me because the expectation is that I have my stuff together, that I'm
Right,
strong, that I'm the provider and protector of the family, that I should have everything all together. Or their partner projects that they don't want to be their therapist, their mom,
right. Well,
or um, may not have the capacity to hold it in a safe way so that the man, and this goes both ways, the man feels unsafe because perhaps it's weaponized. Perhaps there's some shame there, there's some embarrassment, there's judgment there. And so then I'm like, oh, I'll suck it back in again. It's not safe.
man
Right.
up, man up. Right? Is that a saying?
Yeah.
Man up, man. Just suck it up. Like, yeah, and then that's what people do. More men commit suicide than anyone else. And Chris, heart attacks, right? Where we go to work, we keep providing. And the number one days for heart attacks is Monday. Why is that? We don't feel how exhausting it is, how numbing, how meaningless sometimes it is. What's Chris saying there now?
Yes. Lots of
Lots of
women
women.
say they want an emotionally available man until we
Uh,
express a full range of emotions.
until you
Yeah,
actually.
there's some contradictions there, isn't there? And yeah, I mean, there's also the idea that, there's some men that want a strong, independent woman that has her stuff together too, and then they may feel emasculated, right? So there's all these different perspectives, but talking about this one particular thing too is this is for both men and women and anybody is like when I do express myself, there's a way where I'm expressing myself where it may be full of judgment, blame, shame, because I don't know how. The most likely unabridged form of expression is something that creates collateral damage because I've been trained to speak in terms of judgments to in terms of what I don't like. And so that can cause what we call the saboteurs to come out and fight each other, right? So it's ability to have conscious communication skills. And for me to have the conscious communication skills, I also know got to be aware of my self-regulation as well. So thinking from the end in mind, what I yearn to be in is in a partnership where Summer can hold space for my expression, my fullest expression. I feel safe to. Though at the same time, I'm not just being so freely with it, right? Not being conscious of it. I'm also conscious of my language as well and of my regulation because the whole time we're co-regulating each other. She might have more capacity to hold space for me to co-regulate me and keep me regulated down by her presence, though I can speak in a way that owns my projections, owns my judgments. I can minimize the use of the word you, right? To perhaps invoke blame. So there's a lot of nuances there. Though I can take the best foot forward to create a safer space than just like I just want my woman to hold me for whatever I have. And it goes the inverse as well. I just want a man to hold me where I just project all everything.
Yeah,
And
actually, what's that show? Someone shared that with, oh, it was a Facebook post about that. There's that really popular show where the woman just is so traumatized and she's out there. Oh, I got to look that up. And there's this real Hollywood ideal of this man that just holds a very emotional woman, traumatized woman, and it's very, I would say, lopsided in a lot of ways. And um, What did Chris say? The saboteurs come up and they fight each other. Yes, the ability to simply powerful hold space is probably one of the least used and understood power. Yeah, that's where Dre and I talk about partnerships being healing conduits to each other, really understanding. And I was going to ask you, Dre, I feel like I'm on a little tour here, but you mentioned emotions and regulating yourself, but also having that container within a couple to navigate them. But I remember in class, actually, last night, we talked about how emotions can run amok. You express them, and then what? Like, uh, that's great. This is where drama comes in. People just are expressing their emotions. What's the difference between the volatility and the drama of emotions and the resolution of them or the insight that comes with them?
Absolutely. Well, it starts with self-regulation.
How do you do
Because
that? Like, what does
if
that
I'm
mean?
in, yeah, it means like my nervous system is shot, meaning I'm in fight or flight. I'm in victim mode. I'm in saboteur mode. I don't feel safe. Who I view as an enemy, whoever's involved in my story is the enemy, and I just want to be heard and I want to be right. My goal is I want to be on top. I want to get my way. It's survival, right? So when I'm in survival, it's really hard for me to think rationally, and this is where the rational power comes in. Rational minds is a beautiful gift to have. And when I'm thinking that way, I'm thinking of like what's in it for me, right? And these are called saboteur strategies where I might get a need met to control something to get my way, to ease my anxiety, but it comes with a cost where people that are affected are resentful of that control because they feel robbed of their sovereignty. They don't have a choice, right? So self-regulation is just a it's just a term to calm my system down, to let me know that I'm safe, that I'm okay, right? Because in those times where I was a child, I would feel unsafe, and by default, I'll come up with a strategy as a child to navigate my parents, my caretakers, or my teachers, or my bosses, and I will play out those same strategies in adult relationships if I'm not conscious of it. I do play them out 100%. So the idea is like, oh, catching that I am in that survival mode and breathing. Breath work is my quickest way to calm my nervous system down.
What if
Meditation.
you're in a panic attack? Like, because people say that, right?
Yeah.
They're breathing.
Yeah. Yeah. Panic attack is call someone. Like call someone that you feel safe with and they can co-regulate you. They be that safe space just to calm things down is a reflection point, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
I want to pop in there because so many people try to control their anxiety or they have anxiety medication. The best way to soothe anxiety is to be with someone who can regulate you just through their presence. We need more connection, and it's a natural human experience to be with someone. And people always think they need to fix it or do something, but no, your presence is enough
yeah,
for
and
a lot.
there's a particular type of presence with that. The quality of presence is the presence to be with, to not judge, to not fix, to not give advice, to not diagnose either. Because I could be present and I just want to fix you because I love you. I
Yeah.
want to solve your problem,
Yeah, I want to fix you because
right? So that comes with labeling. Now in my mind trying to analyze you and understand you. And the moment that someone has a plan to do something with me, I feel suspicious
Mhm,
because there's a motive to get
mhm.
me somewhere,
Yep.
right? It's trying to fix me, man. And people can feel that. I don't
They
feel heard. I don't feel listened to, right? And then I become further entrenched in my story that my needs don't matter, that nobody hears me, and I speak louder and louder and louder until someone hears me.
but then they
That's
don't
what
really,
happens.
because then they call you
Right?
crazy. I
It
love what
has the
Chris
opposite
just said
effect.
too. Yeah, Chris, the most profound healing I've experienced is when someone has fully, completely, and totally heard me. I can only thrash and wail and scream for so long just to empty into the stillness of another human being. And this is where we're so busy, we can't be still enough to be with someone and offer that. And Thank you so much for that description, Chris, because I truly believe that's where healing of all kinds, the physical, the emotional, and the mental reside. It's so much simpler than we've been told it is. We don't need to go to 20 years of therapy. We can sit in stillness and allow the body, which is innately intelligent, to find its way through, especially when there are others who have come to learn how to regulate themselves, how to sense what doesn't work for them, what their inner resonant yes is in the way that their body operates, in the way that their nervous system operates, and to truly connect with another human being and help support them to find out what that is the most rewarding, meaningful, fulfilling experience, which then allows us then to create authentic community. There's all these people who want to go out and live in community and have, grow their own gardens and things like that. And they're putting the doing of those things ahead of the being. The how do we actually live with each other? Until we do that, it's going to look messy. And I bet you anyone who's tried having a community or lived in a community, they've seen the mess. It gets really messy when we have all these judgments and we're unconscious and we don't know how to regulate ourselves. That's the messiness of the human condition. Until we learn to do what Chris just said, to be comfortable in the stillness and also being the witness and switching those roles back and forth. So there's not an expert, there's not a psychologist, the expert that's doing the space for you. It works back and forth so that we can truly experience our humanness together. Isn't that what we all want? Is to truly feel heard and that someone is with us on this journey. With us. I really think it's the separation that is our disease, that is the source of it all. But what other wisdom did Chris share with us? Took me a few decades to realize that I don't have anyone's answer. Yeah, shit. Not even my own. I can hold that space and stillness for a time to support someone to find the way to their own answer with some boundaries. I'm also not someone's toilet to dump on their shit to not use, right? So there's some balance. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to tie it back to a few loose ends.
Great.
One being like if someone isn't able to feel like if I can't be in touch with my emotions, then dropping into the body, being an experience, what we call the direct felt experience of just, not having to come up with a name, but perhaps just breathing into it, into a sensation of where this emotion resides. And perhaps coming up with an image, a sight, or a sound, or an archetype, and just working with that somatically. Because I know that from the mind, when I'm thinking about it, when I don't have the vocabulary or the emotional literacy to start, it can be quite difficult for me to label it. So I think that's a great place to start is breathing into it and getting into the body, right? And there's a lot of practices to help get you there, right?
What if
It's a
it's too
start.
terrifying? It's so terrifying for people to be in their body.
Yeah, I mean it's to be guided, right? So, it goes back to that co-regulation is a lot of it to be guided is trust and safety. So
Mm.
finding someone that you trust, that you have like a history with, that you could feel safe with, that allows me to let go of those judgments and allow myself to be seen fully and let, in a sense, the pressure valve to be released as well, right? Because it's all fear. I'm afraid that I'll create damage. I'm afraid I'll be hurting other people or myself if I really let the dam go. Right? I've been holding this for so long. So I think it's so important to not just do this work by yourself. It's to do this work with someone.
Mm-hmm.
right? Someone that has that experience, right? And another piece too is self-regulation is any tools that help create this sense of safety within yourself, okay? So that when I'm regulated and then when I communicate all my emotions whatsoever, there's ownership to it, okay?
Mm.
And because I'm not attached to it, because I'm regulated, I'm able to see myself, I can come in and observe it.
Ah.
And using nonviolent communication, the principles of it, I can connect these expressions of my judgments, right, to what I'm feeling and then to what I'm needing. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that allows me to move forward rather than just sitting around and just blah, 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 and just getting stuck in a story. And then the next beat comes gone, blah, 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 same thing, friends coming together and it's kind of like the same story. What happens? If I was in a circle, I'd feel frustrated. I'd feel annoyed listening to that story over and over again. 100% I would be judging the person. Yeah. And it's a practice of me to not judge and be present and have compassion. But what I can do is that I can give that feedback of, hey, Bob, I notice that what you shared has been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. Is that right? Right. And I say, hey, Bob, would you be open to a fresh perspective? Is this something that you want to change? Right. With permission. So that I can see myself that I'm stuck in it. But when I'm conscious and aware and I have the tools, then I'm not just blah, blah, blah. Every week, I can connect to my needs and then I can move forward. I can
Yeah.
have a strategy, tactics to move forward and transmute that.
Well,
Then I'm
and
going somewhere
yeah,
with
I
it.
do. I totally get what you're saying. So I do. I do want to. I don't know. I want to use the word correct, but because the strategies and the fixing, right? Because there's nothing broken. There's a difference between me saying, "Dre, what should I do? Tell me what to do. Be my coach. Do this thing," and being able to identify through your own direct experience, through your feelings, what your needs actually are. Needs being words that describe the life energy that motivates and sustains you. Do you need sleep? Do you need rest? A lot of people don't realize they're hangry. They push themselves until they eat food. There's a real basic example. Do you need more creativity in your life, more connection, more appreciation, safety? Connecting to the needs as a way to create the strategy, because we can have all sorts of strategies. I want to make money. That's a strategy to meet a need, or it can meet several different needs. So just wanted to put that place in there. We want to find the strategy through our needs that come through our feeling, not just these theories or mental constructs of what we should be doing, because we all have these strategies. I ate too much. I liked all the chocolate when I'm not feeling. You were doing the drugs, the excitement, the raves, whatever. They're all strategies. And we want to switch our strategy from numbing the feelings to get our needs met to feeling the feelings so that we can be aligned with who we are in the world. And I think that's maybe a good um, distinction between those two ways of finding a good strategy for oneself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way to the needs gives me the language to find a self-generative strategy. Because
Mm,
without it, I'm resorting back to my old strategies that I used as a kid to give me that dopamine hit,
mm,
right? Oh, it calms me. It feels good. Play video games, watch movies, right? Watch porn. So if I leave it to my mind, my brain's going to give me that default self care strategy, which may in turn be a self destructive strategy. But if I'm able to connect my feelings to my needs, let's say my need is for connection. Okay. So how can I meet my need for connection in a way that comes at less cost? Okay. Because
mm,
let's say I meet connection, I'm like, oh, I don't know what it is. It's unconscious. I want to hang out with my boys, though we end up drinking and we
mm,
end up having weekend binges, and then I
mm,
regret it after. Okay. So when I get the source to, I do have a need for connection. I do want to be with my friends, but perhaps that's not serving me in my fullest capacity. how can I meet that need for connection elsewhere, right? Perhaps going to yoga or going working out with a friend, and I'm meeting my need for connection while also doing something that's healthy for me.
Hmm. Coming to a men's group gathering or a women's group gathering.
Yeah.
Favorite things. Right. Does that feel complete? Did we come full circle today? We talked about numbing.
Yeah, I feel so. I mean, goes back
Hmm.
to this idea of, you know, why am I doing all this? Like life is great, right? And perhaps exploring that a bit more, right? Exploring oneself, knowing thyself, and why there's resistance towards that until it requires a wake up call, right? Because when I have so much options, entertainment options, life is great. I can go on my phone and there's so many funny videos on there, and it makes me laugh. And I feel life is great because laughing is great medicine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just, am I aware? Like, am I avoiding something? Am I numbing something? Right? It's just constant awareness of creating this perspective and expanding it outwards. And then we kind of talked about, okay, if I can't be in touch with my emotions, where do I go? Well, my direct felt experience. And what is that? What is my default direct felt experience? What is self-regulation? And then naming this and having a safe space of being that co-regulator for each other, hold space to share in a way that moves us forward. Right.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris is just saying, yeah, those wake up calls like a heart attack. Because
Yeah. That's a big one. Right.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Hmm.
Thank you, everybody. That's a wrap. Appreciate the comments from Naomi, Chris, and Tracy, and those on Instagram. Much love. Same time next week, 12 p.m. Get resource. We also love to open up the space for you to jump on and have a chat with us as well. Just let us know a week in advance, and we can get that prepared as well. And for those that have questions, especially with our grads of our conscious communication class, we see this space as continuing the conversation, meaning this helps me stay in the practice because it's top of mind. So that when it's top of mind, I can then blend that into everyday things that I'm doing with work, with life, and so forth. When it's not top of mind, then it's so easy for me to come back into unconscious habits again.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you have any, like, comment below the video. If you have questions that you want us to talk about or that you have, put them below. We'll read the comments and we'll put the topics in for the next week and we'll just talk about them. If you also want to show up on camera, let us know. We want to do that too. We'll have those conversations if you're willing to have them right live with
Yeah.
us.
So we go live on YouTube at Get Resource. We'd love for you to watch it over there, and that only helps us really get the message out because it helps with the YouTube algorithm there. So
Yes,
thanks for
please follow us there. That would be
joining.
helpful to our mission to get this information out to as many people as possible.
Peace.